Hey guys, it's Jake here at Canadian Cutting Edge. We've got a fixed blade to look at today. And yes, we've got the giveaway announcement coming up very soon. Actually, depending on how things go, I might have done that announcement just before this gets posted or the next video after this gets posted. We'll see. Anyhow, this is a fixed blade by CIMA knives. And GearBest calls it the G20. Some other places call it the T601. CIMA puts T601 on the blade right there at the spine. I'm thinking probably T601 is probably the correct name for it. One really cool thing about this G20 is that GearBest says that it does not come with this. Mine did, obviously, because it's in my hand. This is a ferrule rod, and it's got a little steel on the end on it, and it fits inside the end of the handle right there. And then you've got a little bit of a hole there, and that's where this green piece of paracord was through that hole, and that's how it came shipped to me, tied together that way. And that's how you can do it. It's a good idea to tie it on somehow, unless you don't mind losing it. And I'll talk about that in some detail during the review of this video. We've got Aus 8 steel, coated blade, full flat grind, G10 handle scales. It's advertised with its sibling, and its sibling comes with stainless steel blade, satin, and it comes with a micarta, black and light, but it's mostly black, a black micarta handle. So you can get micarta or G10, and you can get it in satin or black coated. And I believe over a year ago, I reviewed the one with the micarta, but I forgot that I had. So I might be repeating some of the things that I said then, but there are certainly differences to this knife. The handle shape is a bit different. Certainly the surface on the handle is quite a bit different. The blade shape is mostly the same, and the sheath is identical. And the other one also has this back here, this ferrule rod. So why don't we get our tabletop set up, and we're going to take a good close look at this knife. Stick around. Okay, the first thing that we notice is we've got genuine paracord here on this green one. And the one end is, now they used some flame or something to shrink it. And the other end, they didn't. We've got about 16 inches of this stuff. And that's what was used to go through, pick it up, through here. Let me get my fingers, there we go. That was tied together. When this is tied together like this, you can't pull the ferrule rod out. It just is impossible to pull it out. You have to remove that, and then you've got that hole all the way through, and then you can pull it out. Now you've also got a hole here, so you can also tie it through here if you want it so that it won't ever get lost. But you can't block this hole off. You can't close this on there then. So there you go. You've got a little bit of a raised section right there. You can see it right there. And a little bit on this side. That causes it to get squeezed. And that causes it to feel like it's a magnetic force in here that's holding this together. Yeah, it just gives that kind of sense. So no magnetic force here. It just goes in and gets held there. When it's in place, the knife is actually quite comfortable. You know, a reverse grip like this is just nasty because that's coming out like that. So you can't really do a good reverse grip. But this reverse grip with the blade forward, that works just fine. It's actually very, very comfortable. It's just that reverse. That's what I call it. If you get the blade back, it's a very rare hold, but some people want to know that they can hold a knife like that. So very good hold that way. And pretty much every other grip that you want holds quite well. The shaping of the G10 here gives it a little bit of a spot for your thumb to go right between the blade and the handle, and you know, to gives you a little bit of that pinch grip. And then the rest of your grips are quite good. I said in the unboxing of this that this is a knife that people with medium and large size hands are going to like very, very much. The handle shape and size is very, very good for people with that size hands. My hands are large, bordering on extra large, and they fit quite well and it feels very good. But any larger than my hands and it's not going to work very well. It's very comfortable for, medium and large hands, as I was saying. The G10 has got the scalloped kind of edge on it there, on this, and on the back, on the belly. Well, it's sort of a negative of a belly on the back. They've got this circle here. I don't know if that's supposed to mean something or if it's just decorative. That doesn't work to use for a bow to fire start. You have to put the rod and then using a bow to spin the rod to make a fire. That's not what that's about. I think it's just decorative. You've got Torx screw that comes apart here and then two smaller ones back here. I have not yet tried to take it apart, but I'll do that a little bit later on in the video. I have used it a fair bit. I just haven't tried to take it apart yet. You've got a fairly thick blade. They did sand off a spot here for striking the ferro rod on it. And let's just try that out now. I haven't tried it out in any of my testing. We still have 2 feet of snow outside. Well, it might be actually more than 2 feet now. And our forecast says snow's just going to keep on coming. So let's strike it here and we'll see what happens. Oh, yep. We can make fire with this. No problem. And I've just taken a little bit of the paint off of there. So totally functional. And the residue comes off very easily. Don't worry, I'm not going to cut myself. I'm staying safe from that edge. Not bad. And we'll still talk more about this in just a little while. Whoops, I'm doing it upside down. Actually, why don't we talk about this right now? I'm not too fond of this thing. It's a little bit awkward to hold. And although it's functional, it's weird. You don't want it just in here like this with not being tied up, because you could lose it if you're depending on it. So I'm not fond of having it tied up and then having to untie it when you go to use it, because I know myself and I know most guys. What's going to happen is if we use this knife and then this is going to be our fire starter, we'll take this apart. We'll go like this. We will start our fire. We can strike the knife across the edge, make our sparks, light our fire. And what's going to happen is we're going to put this down somewhere. And then we're going to keep using this stick to make some more kindling or whatever, because we're going to find out we didn't make enough or whatever. And then this is going to get lost or just misplaced or damaged or something. Not a great idea. The other thing is it's very small, a little bit awkward to use and stuff. I would much rather cover this thing with epoxy, stick it in there, and have it glued in there permanently, and then use the sheath pocket right here, or some of these holes, to tie on a good size ferro rod. And I think that's a better way to go. You could use this pouch here to put in a little sharpening stone or something. And it certainly has got a lot of tie-off options for, a ferro rod. You can also use this sort of as, being semi-molly compatible, because you got the straps right here that you can use to tie onto something. You can even use these main straps to tie onto something. These straps are for your belt. So you don't have to take your belt off to put this on. You can just pull it on over and then snap it shut. Might be a little tricky while you're wearing your pants, but can be done. I like that it hangs nice and low off your belt, that sheath. Now this Cordura fabric is okay. I don't like this rope here. I'm not going to use it to tie off on my leg ever. And the kind of rope that they used here, I don't like it in the first place either. It's a good budget sheath. I got nothing major bad to say about it. We've got a little bit of extra, I don't know what they did in there. I can't really show it to you, but it's a little extra thick inside there. The material is nice and firm and strong. I don't think it's going to wear out too quickly, but it will wear out. You've got lots of extra stitching down here, but eventually your knife is going to poke through the bottom. So a leather sheath is a much better choice for the long term, or Kydex or something, but it's a reasonable sheath for a budget knife for the first while of its life. So I've talked enough about that. I've talked enough about the ferro rod. Let's continue talking just about the knife itself. I've talked a bit about the handle. You've got a nice trench through here that helps it to lose a little bit of weight, but it also helps when you hold it in your hand. You know, like this, it's quite comfortable. And if I turn my hand over, my fingertips, you know, come in there just a little bit sometimes and give it a little bit extra grip. So really good purchase that way. Your thumb is comfortable up here across the spine of the blade. There's a little bit of jimping there for a good grip. And if you want to have a bit of a longer reach, then you can grip it a little bit further back and put your thumb up on the riser part, and it's comfortable that way as well. One problem with this knife is with its thickness is it doesn't get thin at the edge enough. It's a little thick behind the grind, and you can't make it thinner. Once it's thick, you know, you can only make it thicker by grinding it down more. It's not stupid thick, but it is a little thicker than I'd like to have. Okay, let's do the rest of the measurements, and then we'll talk about some more details of this knife. Cutting edge is 10.2 centimeters, 4 inches. Blade length, so G10 tip right there to the tip of the blade. It's actually a little bit less. It's 9.93 centimeters, 3.9 inches. The blade thickness, 4.5 millimeters. That's 0.179 inches, thicker than it needs to be. Blade depth, so spine to the cutting edge this way, is 2.59 centimeters. That's just over an inch. The thickness of the edge behind the grind, like I said, it's too thick, 0.88 millimeters. That's 0.034 inches. That's thicker than it needs to be. I have sharpened this knife. The grind was somewhat even across both sides, but it was a fair bit more on this side than it was on this side. I have evened it out a little bit. Let's talk about the handle. Handle length is 10.88 centimeters. That's 4.28 inches. Handle thickness is 1.63 centimeters. That's 0.64 inches. So that seems a little thick, but it's not that bad because it's less than half an inch here and it's over half an inch here. The handle depth, and the widest point is right here after this choil, 2.46 centimeters. That's 0.969 inches. And then the grip space between my thumbnails is 9.67 centimeters, 3.8 inches. And the length of the knife is 20.95 centimeters, which is 8.25 inches. So 8.25 inches, not bad. The weight of the knife is 146 grams, 5.1 ounces. And with the sheath, it's 217 grams, 7.65 ounces. Not bad at all. And the price for this knife, with decent Aussite steel that I like quite a bit, American dollars at GearBest, it's $25.99. In Canadian dollars, it's $34.34. Euros, 21.33, and pounds, 18.98. So 19 pounds for this. Well, what do we think of this knife? Well, first, before we get into that, let's see if we can take this handle apart or not. Some guys like to replace handles and make their own stuff. So we'll see if that's possible. Okay, so I've taken this handle scale off. Black G10 on this side. And there's your colors. And it just comes off like that. So full tang all the way to the back here. And this is where that ferro rod goes in. And I can confirm that it's just squeezing against the side of the G10 that gives it the grip and stops this from falling out. And eventually, after taking it in and out a few times, you're going to wear a little bit on that G10. It's going to get loose, and it's just going to drop out and get lost. So I really do think that the best choice for this is, fill this trench up with epoxy and, then screw this on. And if you're going to do that, you might as well make this permanent and scratch this side up a fair bit. And then you can get some epoxy on the side surfaces as well and really make this handle permanent. Why not, right? If you're going to take it apart anyways, that is. Now, if you haven't noticed it yet, there is a lanyard hole up here, as well as you've got these two holes back here. So there's all kinds of options for a lanyard. A lot of people like to have a lanyard around their wrist and stuff. I don't think these holes are designed for tying this thing onto a stick and turning it into a spear. Some people really like to do that. I think that is not the wisest thing to do. I think if you're going to want to have a spear, you should take your knife and go find a really nice piece of wood and whittle the end of it until it's got a nice sharp tip. And then you'll have a spear and a knife. One thing for each hand. And if you do end up losing your spear, either in a moment of adrenaline and you throw the silly thing, which might be a good thing to do at that particular moment. But if you had your knife on it, it would be pretty stupid to throw it away because then you've got nothing. So if you just use your knife to make a spear and you end up throwing it away, then you still have your spear. Your knife. So I think it's really wise to keep your knife as a knife and make a spear to behave as a spear. So you have two things instead of just the one. So there you go. We've got this really nice full flat grind, which does help the knife a lot. No obstructions here, so good for slicing through things. Even though it is thick behind the grind, you still have a reasonable cutting edge, and you can certainly cut things like paper. No problem at all. A straight push cut. You don't have to slide the blade across to cut. You got something thick and heavy like this 1/2-inch sisal rope, and it'll cut that as well. No problem at all. So there you go. Cut through that. GearBest does say that they're not going to ship it with the ferro rod. That you won't get the ferro rod with it. That's what they say. So if you get yours without the ferro rod, hey, don't get mad because that's exactly what they say on their website. But if you do get the ferro rod with it, you might just want to say thank you. So there you go. Here's this knife. Good size. Looks good. Feels good. I think it's a reasonable knife for the price. If you're looking for something like this, or if you want the satin blade with the nice, highly polished micarta handle scale. And the micarta handle scale is smoother. It doesn't have all this texture on it. You'll be able to see it in the picture. Yeah, that's a really good choice, either one of these. Please use my links in the description below if you're going to choose to buy from GearBest. Thank you very much for that. I appreciate it very much. And if you would like to check out my other channel, Goods, Gadgets, and Gear, where I do things like this watch, there'll be a link right in the middle, right where my fingernail tip is right now, right at the close of this video. You can click on that G, Goods, Gadgets, and Gear, also known as Triple G. You can click on that. You can get to that channel and watch some videos right there. Thank you so much for being subscribers. Thank you especially to my Patreon supporters. You guys are the best. The knife people are just awesome. Remember, always cut towards your chum, not your thumb.